The stars above the colony world Orion's Edge looked peaceful that night. The blue oceans shimmered under two small moons, and children played on the rooftops while the sky glowed with silver light. For a moment it felt like peace would last forever, but peace never lasts long when someone thinks you are weak. Far beyond the moons, inside the cold silence of space, the Zarth Dominion fleet appeared. They were a proud and ancient alien empire, famous for conquering without mercy. To them the humans were newcomers, small, noisy, and brave in foolish ways. The Zarth commander, Lord Karn, smiled inside his crystal-covered bridge. His fleet of 100 warships surrounded the human colony like wolves around a lamb. "Begin the broadcast," he ordered. A deep voice echoed through the colony's comm systems. "People of Earth, you have expanded too far. The Dominion claims this world. Leave your planet or we will make you." Down on the surface, panic spread like fire. People ran toward shelters. Soldiers tried to contact Earth, but the distance was too great. They sent one short message: "Under attack. Need help." No one expected an answer. Earth was still rebuilding after the Solar War. Humanity had only one proper fleet, and it was still in training near Mars. The colonists whispered that no one would come, but someone did. At the edge of the star system, a single ship woke from silent travel. The name Saul's Hammer was written along its gray hull. Its commander, Rian, stood on the bridge looking calm, though the lights of warning blinked around him. He was not a man of many words. He had seen too many battles already. Wars on Earth, on Mars, on the dark moons of Jupiter. Now he was old enough to know what fear looked like, and the sight of the Zarth fleet on his screen made his heart beat faster. "Only one ship against 100, whispered the young pilot, Tara. Ryan smiled a little. "That is enough." He opened the channel to the colony. "This is Commander Rian of the Earth Fleet. Stay under shelter. We will handle this." When the colonists heard his calm voice, something changed in the air. People stopped running. They listened. Someone whispered, "Earth Fleet here." Hope, fragile but real, began to rise. Inside his bridge, Ryan studied the enemy formation. The Zarth ships were beautiful in a cold way, long, sharp, like knives made of glass. But he also saw their weakness. They believed numbers alone could win. "Prepare the mirror drones," he said. The engineers worked quickly. Dozens of small silver spheres floated from the ship, spreading out into the dark like tiny stars. The Zarth fleet detected movement and opened fire immediately. Blue energy beams cut across space, destroying half the drones in seconds. Tara gasped. "We lost half of them." Ryan stayed calm. "Half is enough. Activate the mirrors," light exploded. The Zarth beams bounced off the remaining drones, reflecting straight back toward their own ships. Confused pilots tried to turn, but it was too late. 3 destroyers vanished in bright flashes. On the Zarth flagship, Lord Karn rose from his throne in anger. "What trick is this?" he shouted. "One human ship dares to resist?" Ryan's voice came through their communication line, steady and clear. "This world is under human protection. Leave now." Karn laughed loudly. "Human, you are brave. You will die quickly." He cut the line and ordered all ships to attack. The first wave came fast. 50 alien ships moved like a silver storm toward Saul's Hammer. Ryan ordered his crew to hold fire. The aliens grew closer, confident that the human ship was frozen in fear. Then suddenly, Saul's Hammer moved. Its engines roared like thunder. The ship flipped sideways, gliding between the enemy lines with impossible precision. Energy shields glowed bright white as enemy beams struck, but the ship held strong. "Fire the storm cannons," Ryan said. From beneath the ship, 10 powerful weapons released waves of plasma bolts that tore through the nearest Zarth ships. One by one, the alien vessels exploded, lighting up space like fireworks. Tara could hardly believe what she was seeing. "They're running, Commander." Rian didn't smile. "They'll be back. Send the signal to Earth, tell them, first contact complete, and tell them we can win." Down on Orion's Edge, people watched the battle from mountain ridges. The sky above turned red as wreckage burned through the atmosphere. For hours they saw flashes in the heavens, human technology fighting against alien pride. Old miners, young students, even farmers who had never seen a spaceship before, stood together in silence. One child asked his mother, "Will we live?" She looked up, tears in her eyes. "Yes, my son. We have someone up there fighting for us." By dawn the sky cleared. Only one large ship remained visible, shining silver in the morning light. Sol's hammer floated quietly among the debris. The Zarth fleet was gone, destroyed or fled. Rian looked at the empty radar screen. Status? Shields at 30%. Hull stable, replied the engineer. And the enemy? All retreating, sir. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the entire bridge crew began to cheer. The sound was not of victory, but of relief. Pure, honest relief that they had survived what no one believed possible. Ryan allowed himself a small smile. Send a message to the colony. Tell them the sky is safe again. The transmission reached every corner of Orion's Edge. People cried and hugged one another. Bells rang from city towers. That night they held lights in their hands and looked up, whispering thanks to the humans who came from far away to protect them. But while the colony celebrated, Ryan sat alone in his captain's chair, reading the battle data. He could see it clearly. This victory would not last. The Zarth Dominion would return. They would not accept defeat from a single ship. He opened a private channel to Earth. Command, this is Sol's hammer. Orion's Edge is safe for now, but they will come again. One ship will not be enough. There was silence for several seconds before Earth Command answered. Message received, Commander. Hold position. Reinforcements are being prepared. Ryan looked out the window at the stars. The wrecks of alien ships drifted like ghosts. In the distance, the twin moons glowed softly as if watching. Humanity is learning, he said quietly, and they are afraid of what we might become. Far away on the Zarth homeworld, Lord Karn's ship returned in disgrace. The Council of Elders gathered around him, their eyes glowing with anger. You lost to one human ship? Asked Elder Vok. Karn lowered his head. Their weapon systems were advanced. Their tactics, unexpected. Excuses, the Elder hissed. The humans are simple creatures of a small blue planet. They cannot challenge us, Karn looked up. Then explain how one of them destroyed my entire fleet. The Council fell silent. None of them had an answer. In the shadows of that great chamber, a younger Zarth officer whispered to another, if one human ship can do this, what if they have more? The thought spread like poison. Fear, for the first time in Zarth history, touched their hearts. Back on Sol's hammer, Ryan met with his crew in the observation deck. The stars outside looked calm again, almost peaceful. Tara asked softly, do you think they will come back? Ryan nodded. Yes, they will come with more ships, stronger ones. But next time, Earth won't send just one fleet. What will they send? She asked. Ryan looked at the stars and replied, enough to make them remember us forever. The crew stood in silence, watching the burning remains of enemy ships drift away like fading memories. Each of them felt the same quiet pride. Humans had faced the galaxy's most feared empire and survived. No one had expected it. Not even Earth. That night, Ryan wrote in the ship's log, today, humanity proved something the galaxy will never forget. We may be new among the stars, but we are not weak. One fleet was enough to terrify them. But if they return, Earth will send 10 more. He closed the log and looked once more toward the distant blue dot that was Earth. For the first time in many years, he allowed himself to hope, not just for survival, but for the bright, fearless future of humankind among the stars. And above the quiet world of Orion's Edge, the sky glowed gently with the light of victory. The Battle of Orion's Edge became the most talked about event in the galaxy. For the first time in living memory, the Zarth Dominion, rulers of half the known stars, had been defeated. By humans. By one single fleet, the shock spread quickly. Across alien worlds, people whispered stories of the fire ship that had destroyed the mighty Zarth armada. On trading stations, merchants told each other that humans had used secret weapons, that they had tamed living suns, or that their ship was guided by some ancient spirit of war. None of those stories were true, but it didn't matter. The Zarth had lost, and their fear was real. On the Zarth homeworld, the Council of Elders gathered in the shining hall of crystal and gold. The air inside shimmered with energy and anger. At the center stood Lord Karn, the commander who had faced humanity and returned in defeat. You bring us shame, hissed Elder Vok, his long fingers tapping the floor. You lost to one human ship. Karn's voice was calm, but his eyes showed exhaustion. It was not an ordinary ship, Elder, their tactics. Their unity. It was unlike anything we have seen. Excuses, another Elder growled. Humans are a primitive species. They were lucky. Karn looked around the chamber. Then why does your heart fear them? The elders fell silent. Karn's words hung in the air like a blade. Finally, Elder Vox spoke again, slower this time. Luck or not, we cannot allow this rumor to spread. If other species think the Zarth can be defeated, our power will fall apart. The council agreed. A message was sent to every Zarth-controlled world. The incident at Orion's Edge was exaggerated. The human ship was destroyed. The Dominion remains unchallenged, and so the Zarth began their celebration. On alien worlds, banners of the Dominion were raised once more. Songs of victory echoed in the streets. The Zarth leaders held great feasts toasting to their victory over humanity. They danced under artificial skies, pretending nothing had changed. But deep inside, the smart ones knew the truth. They had seen the battle data. They knew Sol's hammer had survived and that the Zarth fleet had not. Still they celebrated. Because denial was easier than fear. Meanwhile, far away, Earth was silent. The people knew of the victory, but there were no loud celebrations. No parades. No public speeches. In the underground command center of Luna Base, a room filled with blue light and quiet voices, Earth's leaders met in secret. Commander Ryan's message had arrived 2 days after the battle. We are safe for now. The enemy has fled, but one fleet will not be enough next time. The council read the message over and over. Each time it felt heavier. Finally, Counselor Lyra, an older woman with sharp eyes, stood up. We all know what this means, she said. The Zarth will return, and they won't come with 100 ships. They'll bring thousands. The room stayed silent. She continued. Commander Ryan's ship was powerful because it was made with unity. Every nation on Earth contributed materials, design, minds. We must do that again, but greater. We must prepare not for one battle, but for survival. A younger engineer, Jonas, spoke up. Are you suggesting a new project? Yes, Lyra said. We will call it Project Iron Sky. The name filled the room with quiet strength. Weeks passed. Factories on Earth came alive day and night. From the icy deserts of Antarctica to the floating cities above the Pacific, workers built new ships in silence. No one outside the inner circle knew the truth. To the public, it looked like ordinary construction. But deep under the oceans, in hidden shipyards, something greater was being born. Young pilots trained in secret simulators. Scientists worked on weapons that used energy fields beyond anything humanity had ever tested. Every worker knew one thing. Earth was building not one, but 10 new fleets. They called them the Guardians of Sol. Each one would carry the name of an element: iron, silver, gold, copper, and more. Commander Ryan, still stationed near Orion's Edge, received short updates from Earth. He read them quietly and smiled. He knew humanity was not sleeping. They were sharpening their will. Meanwhile, among the Zarth, strange events began to happen. Their scouts reported missing ships near human borders. Their communication relays went silent one by one, and yet their leaders refused to believe the truth. Humans are weak, Elder Vox declared again in the Grand Chamber. They cannot challenge the Dominion. But Lord Karn, still recovering from his defeat, stood apart. You said the same thing before Orion's Edge, he reminded them. Vox's face turned cold. Careful, Karn. You're lucky to still hold a command. Karn's eyes hardened. Luck had nothing to do with it. The humans will come again, and when they do, we will not be ready. But no one listened. They laughed and poured their shining drinks. The halls of the Zarth were full of false joy, while their fleets rusted in overconfidence. Back on Earth, the first of the new fleets was almost complete. The shipyards were enormous, orbiting the planet like glowing rings. Thousands of engineers floated in zero gravity, connecting vast metal sections together. Captain Mira, a young officer chosen by Ryan himself, stood inside the unfinished command deck of the Iron Wing, the first ship of the new fleet. She ran her hand along the smooth walls, feeling the hum of life through the metal. An engineer floated nearby. She'll be ready in 3 months, Captain. Mira smiled softly. 3 months? That's fast. Everyone on Earth is working for this, the engineer said. No one wants to see another colony attacked. Mira looked through the glass at the planet below. They won't, she said quietly. Not if we do our job right. While the humans built in silence, the rest of the galaxy moved on. Most alien civilizations had heard both stories, the Zarth's claim of victory and the humans' version of survival. They didn't know which was true, but one thing was clear. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, and everyone was watching. Traders started to approach Earth carefully, offering small deals and asking for alliances. Scientists from other races sent coded messages, curious about human technology. The galaxy that once ignored Earth now whispered its name with a mix of curiosity and fear. One night, Commander Rian stood on the bridge of Sol's Hammer, watching the quiet stars. Tara, his pilot, approached. "Sir," she said, "there's news from Earth. They've started Project Iron Sky, 10 ships, each one stronger than ours." Ryan smiled faintly, then they listened. "Do you think the Zarth know?" she asked. Ryan shook his head. "No, they're too busy celebrating." He turned back to the stars. "Let them celebrate. Every day they waste in pride is a day we grow stronger." Months passed. The Iron Wing was completed first. When it launched, there were no crowds, no cheering, only silence and purpose. The ship was enormous, sleek, black, and built with new hybrid engines. It could travel faster than any known vessel, and its weapons were designed not just for destruction but for precision. Captain Mira stood at the helm as the ship moved out of Earth's shadow. Her crew, all young and determined, watched the stars open before them. "Where are we going first, Captain?" one asked. Mira looked at the screen showing the distant edge of Zarth space. "To the border," she said. "We're going to remind them that humans don't forget." Back in Zarth space, the Dominion celebrations were finally fading. The songs of victory had grown quiet. Rumors had begun to spread again. A merchant ship had passed through the edge of human territory and seen something. 10 massive shapes moving through the dark, too large to be freighters, too fast to be colonies. When the news reached the Zarth Council, they laughed nervously. "Impossible," one elder said. "Humans can't build that many ships." But Lord Karn only looked at the stars outside the council window and whispered, "You said the same thing about one, far beyond them." Earth's new fleets gathered in silent formation, orbiting a distant star. Their engines glowed softly like 10 suns waking in the dark. Commander Ryan's old ship joined them, now repaired and stronger than ever. He sent a single coded message to Earth Command. "The Guardians are ready." On Earth, Counselor Lyra received the message and smiled. "Then the galaxy will learn," she said softly, "that humanity doesn't just survive, it rises." And while the Zarth Dominion continued to dance in their halls, toasting their false victories, 10 human warships turned their bows toward the stars. The sky was quiet. The celebration lights of the Zarth homeworld glowed in the distance, unaware that something unstoppable was already coming. The humans did not sing or boast. They simply prepared, because they knew one truth that the galaxy had yet to learn. One fleet had been enough to terrify them. But Earth had built 10 more, not for revenge but to make sure peace would never again depend on luck. The stars around the border of Zarth space had grown quiet. Merchant ships no longer traveled there. Communication lines went dead for days at a time. Something was moving in the dark, something vast and silent. The Zarth Dominion called it a rumor. Their leaders said it was nonsense, that humans could never build more than one warship, but the captains who patrolled the border knew better. They had seen strange shapes in the dark, huge shadows that blocked the light of the stars, moving with the calm of hunters. Those who saw them and lived spoke only one sentence afterward: "The humans are back." Far from Zarth space, the Iron Wing led the new human fleet through the black sea of stars. 10 ships followed in formation, their hulls painted with the mark of Earth, a simple blue circle surrounded by silver lines. The ships were larger than anything humanity had ever built. Each one was designed not for conquest but for defense, a promise that no one would ever again threaten their home or colonies. At the front of the fleet stood Captain Mira, her eyes fixed on the endless dark ahead. She had been chosen by Commander Rian himself, trained under his calm discipline and belief in unity. Behind her, the hum of the ship was steady, strong, alive. "Fleet check complete," said her first officer, Rio. "All systems stable. Engines at full charge," Mira nodded. "Good. Keep formation tight. We're not showing strength by size. We're showing it by precision." She looked out at the view screen. The stars seemed still, but she knew every movement was part of something bigger. Humanity had changed. They were no longer running, no longer waiting for rescue. They had become their own guardians. Back on Earth, the command center watched the fleet's slow journey with pride and tension. Counselor Lyra stood beside the large holodisplay. The glowing dots representing the 10 ships looked small against the map of the galaxy, but she knew what they truly meant. Project Iron Sky is complete, said the technician. All 10 ships have passed beyond our solar range. They are now officially the Guardians of Sol. Lyra smiled faintly. Let's hope they never need to fight. But if they must, the stars will remember them. On the other side of the screen, a familiar voice came through. Commander Rian, speaking from Sol's Hammer. His ship now served as a command relay for the new fleet. Council, he said, the Zarth are moving. They've sent scouts toward our colonies again. Are they attacking? Lyra asked. Not yet, Ryan replied. But their movements show fear. They're searching for us. They want to know if the stories are true. Lyra took a slow breath. Then maybe it's time to show them. Far away, inside the Zarth Dominion's main fleet headquarters, alarms rang. One of their border patrols had vanished without sending a single signal. A dozen ships had entered a quiet sector to investigate strange readings, and none had returned. On the bridge of the Zarth flagship, Admiral Therak, a strict and proud leader, glared at the empty radar display. Find them, he ordered. No human ship can move through Dominion space without being seen. Admiral, said one officer softly, we found a transmission from the missing patrol. Therak turned sharply. Play it. The room filled with static and a broken voice. Unknown vessels sighted. 10 of them. Not Zarth design. Then silence. The transmission ended with a low hum. The sound of something immense powering up. Therak's face turned pale. 10 ships? Yes, Admiral. He looked out the window toward the stars. So it's true. Earth has awakened. The Zarth Council met again that same day. The grand hall that had once echoed with pride now felt colder. Lord Karn, still carrying the shame of his earlier defeat, stood before them once more. You should have listened, he said quietly. I warned you. The humans would not stop with one ship. Elder Vox scowled. Even 10 human ships cannot fight the might of the Dominion. Karn's eyes hardened. You said the same thing last time. The difference is, when now they have more than courage. They have experience. Another elder leaned forward. What do you suggest, Lord Karn? He looked around the chamber. I suggest you stop celebrating and start preparing. But the council, full of pride and fear, only argued among themselves. Some demanded a counterattack. Others wanted peace talks. In the end, they did nothing, paralyzed by their own arrogance. Meanwhile, the human fleet continued its quiet march through the stars. They moved without sound, their lights dimmed, their engines silent except for the faint pulse of energy within. Captain Mira stood in the command deck, watching the radar. Any signs of Zarth patrols? She asked. Rio shook his head. None, Captain. It's almost too quiet, Mira smiled slightly. Then they're watching us. Let's give them a show. She pressed a command. The fleet opened formation, spreading into a massive arc. From a distance, the 10 ships looked like a wall of silver cutting through the void. Activate the beacon, she said. A pulse of blue light flashed from the iron wing, racing across space. It wasn't a weapon, and it was a message, one the whole galaxy could detect. The message was simple, written in the universal code of the stars. We are here. Humanity stands ready. The signal reached dozens of worlds, even the Zarth homeworld itself. At first, alien communication stations thought it was a mistake. Then they checked the signal's source. The energy reading was impossible, stronger than anything they had recorded before. Within hours, the entire Dominion was talking about it. Fear turned into panic. In the military center, Admiral Therak called for full alert. Prepare every ship, he commanded. The humans have declared their presence. But, Admiral, said one officer, we don't even know where they are heading. Therak looked at the screen filled with 10 bright signals moving toward Zarth space. They're coming here. On the bridge of Sol's Hammer, Ryan watched the same readings. Tara, his loyal pilot, smiled nervously. You really think they'll surrender, sir? Ryan chuckled softly. The Zarth don't know how to surrender, but maybe they'll learn. He opened a channel to Captain Mira. Fleet Command to Iron Wing. You are cleared to begin Phase 2. Mira nodded. Understood. Beginning demonstration run. The 10 ships shifted again, forming a tight formation. Their engines glowed brighter, releasing ripples of light that could be seen even from the Zarth border stations. Then, without warning, the entire fleet disappeared from radar. The Zarth commanders gasped. Where did they go? A second later, every warning alarm in the system went off. The human fleet had reappeared, behind the Zarth defense line. For the next few hours, chaos ruled the Zarth frontier. Their communication towers flickered. Drones exploded without warning. But the human ships did not destroy cities or colonies. They simply moved through space, disabling weapons, cutting off supply chains, and leaving messages behind. We seek peace, not conquest. But do not test our patience. On every disabled Zarth ship, the same phrase appeared on the control panels, written in perfect Zarth language, clear and polite. We remember Orion's Edge. To the Zarth, those words felt heavier than any weapon. Captain Mira watched the last enemy ship drift silently as its systems went offline. Rio looked at her. Should we finish them, Captain? She shook her head. No, send them home. Let them tell their leaders what they saw. What exactly did they see? He asked. Mira looked out at the stars. They saw what happens when humans stop being afraid. Back on the Zarth homeworld, Admiral Therak reported to the Council. His voice trembled slightly, though he tried to hide it. The human fleet entered our territory, neutralized 6 patrol groups, disabled 2 command stations, and left without loss. Elder Vok leaned forward, disbelief in his eyes. They attacked and left? Why? Therak's reply was cold and simple. To show us they could. Silence fell across the Council. Even Lord Karn said nothing. At last Vok whispered, What do they want? Therak looked toward the stars beyond the window. They want peace, but not the kind you can break. In deep space, the human fleet regrouped at a neutral zone. The stars shimmered around them, reflecting off their polished hulls. Commander Rian arrived in Sol's Hammer, docking beside Mira's ship. When he stepped onto her bridge, Mira saluted him with quiet pride. Mission complete, sir. No casualties. Enemy disabled. Ryan smiled. Good work, Captain. You've shown the galaxy something important. What's that? She asked. That peace isn't given. It's protected. They stood together, watching the stars turn slowly outside the window. Around them, the 10 human ships floated like guardians of a new age. Far away on a small trading moon, alien merchants whispered to each other. They say the humans can appear anywhere, one said. Another nodded. They say their ships move like shadows, silent, fast, unstoppable. And what do they want? Asked a third. The first merchant smiled. Nothing. Just respect. On Earth, Counselor Lyra received Ryan's final report. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, The shadows of steel have risen, and somewhere deep in the blackness between stars, humanity's fleets waited, patient, calm, and unbreakable, because one fleet had been enough to terrify them once. Now 10 fleets stood ready to ensure the galaxy would never forget. The stars above Zarth space seemed calm, but nothing was as it appeared. For weeks, the 10 human fleets had moved silently through the border regions, disabling patrols, cutting communication lines, and leaving messages for the Dominion. Humanity had returned, and they were ready. On the Zarth homeworld, the Council of Elders argued endlessly. The humans are here, said Lord Karn, his voice sharp but controlled. They are no longer one ship. They are 10 fleets strong, and each one is faster, smarter, and deadlier than the last. Elder Vok slammed his clawed hand on the table. Impossible. One human ship was an accident. 10 fleets cannot exist. Karn shook his head. You think as you always have. They exist, and they are coming for us. The council fell silent. Fear had replaced their pride. For the first time, they understood that their empire might not be invincible. At the edge of Zarth space, the human fleets prepared for battle. Captain Mira stood on the deck of the Iron Wing, her eyes fixed on the stars ahead. The other 9 ships mirrored her movements, engines glowing softly, weapons charged but silent. Commander Ryan's voice came through the comm system. Today we do not attack to destroy. We fight to protect. We fight to show the galaxy what humanity has become. Remember your training. Trust your crews. Fight as one. Tara, piloting Sol's Hammer, glanced at the radar. They're approaching, sir. Thousands of ships, Zarth fleet coming fast. Ryan's eyes narrowed. Then let them come. The first wave of Zarth ships appeared on the horizon. They moved in perfect formation. Thousands of vessels lined up like a silver storm, their weapons glowing with energy. Admiral Therak commanded the fleet, his confidence restored, but tension in his movements betrayed him. We will crush them, he shouted. Focus on formation, said another officer. Do not underestimate them. But deep down, Theric felt the same fear that Karn had warned about. The human fleets were faster and more organized than anything the Zarth had ever faced. Captain Mira activated the fleet's first strategy. 10 fleets shifted as one, moving like a single organism. Every ship mirrored the other's maneuvers with perfect precision. Energy shields flared as Zarth beams struck, bouncing harmlessly off mirrored surfaces. Rio, her first officer, watched the Zarth fleet struggle to respond. "Captain, they can't match us." "Not even close." Mira's expression was calm. "Good. Then let's make them remember why one ship was not enough." The human fleet struck with precise waves of energy pulses, disabling Zarth fighters in seconds. Their larger cruisers were forced to retreat as the humans' synchronized attacks tore through their shields. On the Zarth flagship, alarms screamed. "Shields failing on the forward wing," one officer yelled. Therac's claws trembled as he activated emergency systems. "Concentrate fire on their leaders. Take down the command ships first." But every attempt to predict the humans' moves failed. They attacked, disappeared, reappeared behind the enemy lines, striking where least expected. The Dominion's fleet began to break apart, confusion spreading faster than any human strike. From above the battlefield, Mira observed the chaos. She saw Zarth ships running, some surrendering, some exploding from energy overload. "Do not destroy them all," Ryan's voice reminded her. "We protect, we do not annihilate." She nodded and sent orders. Humans disabled weapons, captured communications, and left messages for every surviving Zarth captain. "Humanity does not seek war, but we will defend what is ours." The messages spread through Zarth space like wildfire, reaching the ears of every commander who had thought the humans were weak. In the midst of the battle, Commander Ryan piloted Saul's hammer toward the heart of the Zarth fleet. Tara maneuvered expertly, weaving through enemy fire. "Sir, their central command cruiser is exposed," she reported. Ryan's lips curved into a small smile. "Then we make them understand leadership matters." A wave of energy struck the enemy cruiser, not to destroy but to disable its systems. The ship drifted silently, powerless. Zarth officers looked out in disbelief as one of their largest command ships was rendered useless by a single human vessel. The rest of the human fleet worked in perfect coordination. Ironwing, Goldwing, Silverwing, and all others moved in tandem, like a single living entity. They disabled the Zarth ships one by one, striking only enough to ensure the Dominion would never threaten the colonies again. Even the Zarth pilots who survived could not understand what they were seeing. It was not just strength or firepower, it was unity, strategy, and courage. Humans fought not with anger, but with purpose. Hours passed and the Zarth fleet was in disarray. Ships that had once seemed unstoppable now drifted, powerless or fleeing back to home space. Admiral Therac gritted his teeth. "Fall back. Retreat." The Dominion's commanders barely had time to organize before the human fleets disappeared from radar, reappearing beyond the borders, silent and untouchable. The battle ended in 2 hours, but its impact was immeasurable. The Zarth Dominion had lost hundreds of ships. Their captains were humiliated, their empire shaken, and their soldiers, those who had once seen humans as weak, now whispered tales of fear and awe. Captain Mira and Commander Rian gathered the fleets for a final message. Ryan activated the comm system across Zarth space. "We did not attack to destroy. We attacked to defend. Humanity protects its own. We do not start wars, but we end them." The message echoed across Zarth systems, reaching every fleet, every world, every colony under Dominion rule. On Earth, Counselor Lyra received the confirmation. She watched the holodisplay as the human fleets regrouped. No ships lost. She smiled faintly, a mix of relief and pride. "Humanity has shown the galaxy who we are," she said quietly. "Not by conquest, but by courage, unity, and purpose." Back in Zarth space, the Council finally realized the truth. They had feared one human fleet. Now they had witnessed 10. And they understood that this was not an accident or luck. Lord Karn spoke quietly in the council chamber. One ship was enough to terrify them. 10 ensures they never forget. Elder Vok looked around the room, silent. Pride had left him, replaced by fear. The Zarth Dominion had been humbled, not by rage or hatred, but by humans who had refused to be weak. The colonies, once at the mercy of the Zarth, cheered as news of the victory spread. People gathered in streets holding lights in their hands, watching the stars as humans had done for centuries, this time with hope and pride. Commander Ryan returned to Saul's hammer, quiet and thoughtful. Tara approached. "Sir, we did it. We've stopped them." Ryan shook his head slightly. "Not stopped them. We've reminded them. Humanity exists, and we will protect what is ours." The fleet remained in orbit for several days, ensuring every system under threat was safe. No one dared attack. Not after seeing what 10 fleets could do. And across the galaxy, from small trading moons to great Zarth cities, whispers spread. "They are not like us," a young Zarth pilot said. "They do not seek war, but they will end it if needed," a commander added. The legend of humanity had grown. One ship had terrified them. 10 fleets had ended fear. At the edge of the human fleet, Captain Mira looked out at the stars. "Do you think they will try again?" Rayo asked. Mira shook her head. "Maybe, but they will remember us this time. And next time they will think twice before testing humanity." Ryan stepped beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Humans are not invincible," he said. "But we are strong. Stronger than anyone thought. Stronger when we stand together." The ships of the fleet gleamed under the light of distant stars, silent, calm, ready. Guardians of Earth, protectors of the colonies. And a reminder to all, humans may be new to the galaxy, but they are not weak. The stars above Zarth space glowed quietly, as if watching a lesson written in fire and steel. And in that lesson, one truth shone brightest: humanity does not start wars, but when it protects what it loves, it ends them. The galaxy had changed. No one who had witnessed the human fleets would ever look at the stars the same way again. From distant trading stations to the heart of Zarth space, everyone knew the story. One fleet had terrified the Dominion. 10 fleets had ended fear. The Zarth Dominion, once proud and confident, now moved cautiously. Their patrols were smaller, their leaders more careful, and their children were told tales not of Zarth conquest, but of humanity's courage. For the humans, the battle had ended. But their duty had not. Captain Mira stood on the deck of the Iron Wing, gazing at the stars above a recently liberated sector. The human fleets had helped dozens of colonies regain control of their worlds. Trade routes reopened. Communication networks were repaired. Where fear had once ruled, hope now thrived. Rio approached her. "Captain, reports are coming in from the outer colonies. The Zarth forces are not attacking. They are reorganizing." Carefully, Mira nodded. "Good. That means they learned something. They will think twice before threatening anyone again." She turned to the viewport and watched a small, blue planet rising over the horizon. Earth. Home. Everything they had fought to protect. Back on Earth, Counselor Lyra stood before a holo display showing the positions of the human fleets across the galaxy. Each glowing dot represented a ship, a guardian, a promise. "The galaxy has learned," she said quietly. One of her aides asked, "Learned what, Counselor?" Lyra smiled softly. "That humanity does not wait to be attacked. Humanity protects, and when it does, it cannot be ignored." For the first time in decades, humanity had become a recognized force in the galaxy, not because of conquest, but because of courage, unity, and intelligence. Commander Rian, aboard Sol's hammer, watched a newly liberated colony from orbit. Children played in the streets. Adults repaired buildings. Life had returned. "Tara," he said, speaking to his young pilot. "Look at them. This is why we fight," she smiled. "It's beautiful, sir." "All that hope. It feels real." Ryan nodded. "And it is. The galaxy is vast, full of unknown dangers, but humanity has learned that fear does not protect anyone. Action does. Courage does. And unity. That is what truly makes us strong." Across Zarth space, the council convened again. Lord Karn spoke softly to the room. "We were wrong. One human fleet was a warning. 10 fleets. 10 fleets are a lesson no one can forget." Elder Vok lowered his head. "They did not destroy us. Yet they have made us remember." Therak, the admiral who had faced the human fleets head-on, added, "They fight with intelligence, not anger. With courage, not recklessness, and yet they protect." For the first time, Zarth leaders understood something they had never considered. Humans were not to be feared for their weapons. They were to be respected for their will, their unity, and their determination to protect life. On one small trade moon, A group of alien merchants whispered in awe. "They say humans do not start wars," said one. "They only end them," replied another. "And they do it without hate, without cruelty," added a third. The story spread quickly. Humanity had become a legend across the stars, a new standard, a new hope. Back in deep space, Captain Mira and Commander Ryan held a private moment aboard Sol's hammer. "The galaxy is listening," Mira said softly. Ryan nodded. "Yes, and it will remember. One fleet was enough to terrify them, but 10 fleets made sure they would never forget." Mira looked at the stars, glowing faintly from distant suns. "Do you think this peace will last?" Ryan smiled. "Peace is never guaranteed, but respect is, and now humanity has earned it." The fleets returned to Earth orbit slowly, one by one. The crew was tired, but their eyes shone with satisfaction. They had defended not just planets, not just colonies, but the very idea that humanity would not be underestimated. Captain Mira disembarked and was greeted by Commander Ryan, Counselor Lyra, and many others. "You have done more than fight," Lyra said. "You have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of." Mira bowed her head. "We only did what was necessary to protect our people, Counselor." Ryan stepped forward. "No, you did what was necessary to remind everyone. Humans may be small in number, but we are mighty in spirit. That is why the galaxy will remember us." In the days that followed, humans traveled to liberated colonies to help rebuild. New alliances were formed. Trade resumed between species that had once feared each other. Technology and knowledge were shared. The galaxy had changed. The humans had changed it. Even the Zarth began teaching their young about the humans' courage. Not as enemies, but as examples. Stories of Sol's Hammer and the 10 fleets of Project Iron Sky became lessons in strategy, unity, and restraint. No race, an elder told a young Zarth cadet, should be underestimated. Humanity proves that strength is not measured only by weapons, but by will, courage, and unity. Back on Earth, Commander Ryan and Captain Mira stood together on the observation deck of Luna Base. The fleets rested in orbit. Engines humming softly, shields lowered. Terra joined them. "Do you think they'll ever attack again?" she asked. Ryan looked at the stars. "Perhaps. But now the galaxy knows one truth. Humanity fights only when it must, and when it does, it ends fear, not life." Mira smiled. "Then the galaxy is safer because of us," Ryan nodded. "Yes, and not just safer. Wiser." In the quiet of space, the 10 fleets shone like 10 pillars of light, guardians of humanity, watchers of the stars. They had protected colonies, taught the galaxy respect, and reminded everyone that the people of Earth were not to be taken lightly. Peace was not fragile. It was earned, and humanity would guard it always. As the suns rose over Earth, children looked up at the sky, imagining the great fleets that had fought to protect them. Stories of bravery and strategy were told in schools, in homes, in cities across the planet. One boy asked his mother, "Will humans always protect the stars?" She smiled and nodded. "Yes, my son. As long as we stand together, we will always protect the stars." Above them, the stars themselves seemed to shimmer with a new meaning. Humanity had written its lesson in the galaxy, not through conquest, not through fear, but through courage, unity, and unwavering protection. One fleet had been enough to terrify. 10 fleets had ensured the galaxy would never forget. And as humans looked toward the future, they knew one more truth. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders, challenges, and unknown worlds. But humanity would always rise to meet them, because humans did not wait to be strong. They became strong. They became guardians. They became a lesson written in the stars.